Good morning, guys. This is Dr. Kusuma from Surya Plastic Surgery, soon to be called Surya Cosmetic Surgery, doing my next line of video on facial rejuvenation. We had a tremendous response on the video that I made about the different types of facelifts and what it actually means. And there's been requests to do a fat grafting, kind of a video to explain the ins and outs, because again, that's another topic that has a lot of emotions and feelings and opinions around it. Especially when you add the opportunity that patients now have to do fillers and things like that. So if you take the whole volume, area of facial rejuvenation, volume meaning adding or removing volume, which is to kind of give some fullness to areas that have been sunken in or some lines that develop where you try to fill them up. Now there's other options, right? You can do fillers of various types that are available. That's not the purpose of the talk today, but it's really about using your own natural tissue to put it to use. There's different opinions about it because the effectiveness of it is variable. So one of the biggest challenges that we as doctors and some scientists who really work on this full time have had is fat grafting really came into vogue without knowing the basic science behind it, meaning why does it work? How does it work? It was just one of those things that came about where some doctors thought it would work well. So they harvested some stuff and put it in other stuff in the hopes that it would work. And certainly the doctors saw benefits of it and they continue to do it for years and years and years. And so it's nothing new. But so the science is kind of catching up to that. So essentially the procedure of fat grafting started first a long time ago without knowing the mechanisms of action and things like that, or how it actually works. But since then, because it is a very viable solution, now there's a lot of work going on with fat grafting. As a matter of fact, there's international and national societies that are dedicated completely to fat grafting. There's books written about the fat cell itself, and there's tremendous amount of interest because one of the very key findings of a lot of this research has been that there are actually millions and millions of what we call regenerative stem cells in the fat tissue itself. Okay, I just want to make sure that I explain that again. One of the key findings that has been found, during this research is that in all of our body, throughout the body, in the one of the most abundant tissues of the body, which is fat, essentially for a lot of us, there are actually regenerative stem cells available. I'm sure most of you have heard of stem cells. Stem cells, can do miracles, is what some people talk about, but of course that's not really true. But they are capable of doing amazing things if they work properly. Of course, nature, controls all, but nature has devised a way for tissues to regenerate itself, like lizards can grow their tails and whatever can happen. Humans can heal tissues. That's because of the regenerative potential that we naturally have, that millions and millions of years of evolution has given us. We're trying to tinker with it a little bit, trying to see if we can use it to our advantage to some degree, right? That's what we're trying to do. And the remarkable discovery is that beyond just giving volume, the ability and the opportunity really to transfer some of those millions of what we call stem cells that are in the fat tissue, if they are transplanted to a new area, not only will you or a patient get some improvement in the volume, like lines improvement, things like that, but if the stem cells do go along with the fat cells, and if they do survive where you put it, they could do some great things as well. And the area of research where we've discovered this in plastic surgery is actually in breast cancer patients, because breast cancer patients, many of them need radiation therapy, many of them had chemotherapy, and when fat grafting, which is a very commonly done thing for such patients, was done, some patients exhibited significant improvement in the quality of the skin. So essentially, the damage that's been done by radiation has been to some degree reversed, essentially, right? So this has been an exciting finding, and now there's a quest, truly a race, to figure out how to improve and make fat grafting predictable, consistent, and make sure that it's affordable and it's done at the bedside, almost like fillers are done. Okay, so that's what I'm going to try to focus on, and I'm going to really give you a very, very basic perspective on fat grafting. All right, as usual, I love to use a backboard to explain because that's how I was taught as a child, and that's always stuck with me. So I don't like crazy PowerPoints. I like to really be live, and so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so fat cell, if you can take a fat cell just like any other cell, okay, it could be this size, it could be this size, whatever. And it's interesting that different parts of the body, like neck or arms or abdomen or thighs, all have fat, right? And fat generally can be broken up into two kind of layers, like if you can think of this as the skin surface, this is skin. Underneath the skin usually is what we refer to as subcutaneous tissue, and the subcutaneous tissue has fat in it, and it has also hair, it has sweat glands and all kinds of stuff, but a major component of this is fat cells, and there's blood vessels and nerves that come in it, and lots of stuff happens. These blood vessels that come in there have, so I'm going to take this separately. So if these are fat cells, obviously all of these need, blood supply, because all of them need, nourishment. And in these blood vessels, sometimes there are cells around them called pericytes. They are called P-E-R-I, pericytes. They're essentially called blood stem cells. These are all over the fat cells because the fat cells are so abundant in the body. There's millions and millions of these stem cells, or pericytes called. So essentially, these fat cells that are already, in place, when somebody gains weight, increases weight, okay, these individual cells get larger, these cells. So if a cell is like this, it plumps up to be fatter. It plumps up to get fatter and heavier. But when you gain too much weight, it can now start to divide and become more cells. Okay? So initially, with minimal weight gain, the cells just get larger. But when you gain a lot of weight, they start to divide again and become, more cells. So obviously, we're not talking about supremely overweight, situations. We're talking about an average, maybe mildly obese person. In that case, most of the time when we gain weight, the fat cells just get a little plumper. So if I were to take this cell, for example, cells have, what we call nucleus. It has all kinds of stuff around it. And when you put a cannula, which, essentially is a little probe that has a little, hole in it, is the way it's harvested. So if you have a cannula like this, right, and the cannula is basically a metal kind of a tube looking thing that has a hole either at the end or along the side of it, and when you put it into the sites of where the fat is. So let me just draw this again so you understand. So if you have tissue, so this is the skin, right, anywhere in the body. This could be arms, this could be legs or abdomen, for example, right? This is the surface of the skin. Underneath, like I said, are fat cells, layered, that are absolutely necessary, okay? This amount of tissue is necessary for tissues to look healthy and normal. You do not want to remove all of it because there needs to be a good buffer of normal cells there. But, let's just assume there's a little excess that's there to spare, okay? And we want to utilize that excess fat to recirculate or reuse it, or repurpose it for something else. So essentially, we make a little cut in the skin. We put a probe, okay, like that, which has a hole, like I said, along. And as you move it across like this, some of these fat cells get sucked into those holes and come out, right? And then you put it into a syringe sort of thing, like that. Right? That's the syringe. So essentially use this syringe and you use this tube to, kind of suction out these fat cells which go along the tube and go into the syringe and kind of layer there. Okay? So the normal areas we use the fat, we don't typically use neck fat. It's not something that is abundant or, very good material for fat grafting. Arms are also used, but not as commonly, but it's certainly an area we can use. Abdomen is probably the most common site that's used, and thighs, especially the inner thighs, are the most common sites. So in my case, I use the abdomen and the thighs as the sites of harvesting fat. So once you harvest the fat, you can imagine, right? If this fat cell, again, I'm going to draw the tubing here. If this is the syringe, right? If you're suctioning the fat like this and you're going against these fat cells, you can imagine sometimes the fat cells can break open because of the force of the suction. So some of them get disrupted. Okay? Some may die, and many cells live, and hopefully stem cells survive. Okay? So when you suction, all of these things are inside this tube now, right? They all are residing in this tube. And in addition, when you suction this out, you inject numbing medicine in there, right? You inject some fluid that has numbing medicine, things like that. So that fluid is medicine, and salt water called saline. This is for numbing, are in there. So all of this is part of this tube that you evacuated. So if you were to look at this again, and this fat layers out in this tube, a lot of times the fluids that you don't need, like this one, hopefully, some of these bad cells all get discarded and thrown out. And what you're left with is a nice, what we call aliquot of healthy, alive fat cells and stem cells, right? So when you harvest it, all of this stuff within this area comes into the tube. You separate them, and then when you separate them, you kind of figure out, like, this is the area, this is the quantity of fat that you get. So if you have extraction of about this much stuff from the tissues, half of it is thrown out, and what's left is this, which is good, healthy, bright yellow fat cells and stem cells. Okay, that's how it's harvested. It's a very simple process. A tiny little hole, through that a little tiny cannula is inserted, and all of this is evacuated and then separated, and then you get these cells. Okay, now you put these cells again in a separate syringe, much nicer, thinner, kind of syringe, just like the filler syringes come in. Okay, and all these fat cells are here as an example. And then this has a needle, or it's actually another little thin, what we call a cannula, has a little hole, and then you put it wherever you want to put it. So if you want to put it in the face, right, you can put it along the lines here, you could put it in the lips here, you could put it in the chin here, you could put it anywhere you'd like. So now these fat cells are injected into various parts of the face. And usually, we expect nowadays, because we don't know and haven't perfected it yet, but maybe 50% of the cells survive. So 50% survive, maybe less, maybe more, I don't know. But if you do that, and if you do the math, you nowadays assume that you have to double the quantity that you want to put in, so that you know that half of it's going to go away. So when people look very puffy and swollen, it's because that's what we do. Sometimes overfill it, and with the swelling that ensues, people look puffy. But with time, the swelling goes away, and some of the fat doesn't survive. Because just like planting seeds, right? When you plant seeds in a farm or wherever, some seeds don't make it, some do. Okay, so that's basically the fat. Because when you put it in the tissues, you have to make sure that the recipient side, or where you're putting it, is very conducive to accepting the fat cells and giving it the nourishment it needs to grow. You can almost think of fat cells as seedlings, and they need to survive where they're put. And for that to happen, the environment that they're put in also has to be receptive enough and healthy enough to accept it. And that also has many, many implications. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to stop here today. And then in the next video, I'm going to talk about the techniques and methods that we are using today to ensure that whatever fat is put in can survive. Okay, so I will do that. I hope all of this is pretty clear, which I tried to make it as simple and as clear as possible. So the second part of this video is going to be, how is it that this fat that's put in can be made to survive long term? And what are we doing? What devices are we using? What techniques are we using to make this work every single time for every person? Because just imagine when you can harvest your own cells that you made of your own, reusing it, in a very, very effective manner. And that is the best filler you could ever find, right? So let's talk about that next.